How to apply the 48 laws of power. The story of how William achieved success. Once there was a young man named William who aspired to be a powerful businessman. He had read Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power and was determined to put them into practice. Law 1. He began by always being careful not to outshine his master at work. He made sure to be a loyal and hardworking employee, never drawing too much attention to himself. Law 2. As he climbed the corporate ladder, William learned not to put too much trust in friends and instead to use his enemies to his advantage. He knew that true friends could be hard to come by in the cutthroat world of business, and that enemies could often provide valuable information. Law 3 and 4. William was also careful to conceal his intentions and always say less than necessary. He knew that the less he revealed about himself, the more powerful he would be. Law 5. William was well aware that reputation was everything in the business world. He guarded his reputation with his life, always making sure to present himself in the best light possible. Law 6. William was determined to court attention at all costs and was always looking for ways to make himself stand out. He knew that in order to be successful, he needed to be noticed. Law 7. William was a master at getting others to do the work for him, but he always made sure to take the credit. He knew that taking credit for the work of others was a key way to climb the corporate ladder. Law 8. William understood the importance of making others come to him and was not afraid to use bait if necessary. He knew that if he could get others to come to him, he would have the upper hand in any situation. Law 9. William preferred to win through his actions rather than through argument. He knew that actions spoke louder than words, and that the best way to prove oneself was through results. Law 10. William avoided the unhappy and unlucky, knowing that their negative energy could be contagious. He knew that in order to be successful, he needed to surround himself with positive and ambitious people. Law 11. William was skilled at keeping people dependent on him, whether it was through selective honesty or generosity. He knew that if he could make others dependent on him, he would always have the upper hand. Law 12. As William continued to climb the corporate ladder, he realized the importance of gaining the trust of his colleagues and clients. He knew that by building strong relationships, he would have more influence and power. So, he started to use selective honesty and generosity as a tactic to disarm his victims. He shared some personal information and helped his colleagues in their projects, making them feel indebted to him and trust him. Law 13. When it came to asking for help, William knew to appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. He knew that people were more likely to help him if they saw a benefit for themselves. Law 14. William was a master at posing as a friend and working as a spy. He knew that by gaining the trust of others, he could learn valuable information that could be used to his advantage. Law 15. William was not afraid to crush his enemies totally, knowing that in order to be successful, he needed to eliminate all competition. Law 16. William understood the power of absence and made sure to use it to increase respect and honor. He knew that by being scarce, he could make himself more valuable in the eyes of others. Law 17. William enjoyed keeping others in suspended terror, cultivating an air of unpredictability. He knew that by keeping others guessing, he would always have the upper hand. Law 18. William knew that fortresses were not necessary to protect himself, instead he preferred to keep himself in the center of the action. He knew that isolation was dangerous and would never cut himself off from the people who could help him. Law 19 and 20. William knew that it was essential to know who he was dealing with and made sure not to offend the wrong person. He also avoided committing to anyone, knowing that keeping his options open was key to his success. Law 21. William was not above playing the role of a sucker to catch a sucker and was not above appearing dumber than his mark. He knew that by playing dumb, he could gain an upper hand. Law 22. William was a master at using the surrender tactic, transforming weakness into power. He knew that by appearing weak, he could lure his opponents into a false sense of security, and then strike when they least expected it. Law 23. William was a master at concentrating his forces, knowing that by focusing all of his resources on one goal, he was more likely to achieve it. Law 24. William was skilled at playing the perfect courtier, always knowing the right thing to say and do in order to gain favor with those in power. Law 25. William was constantly recreating himself, always looking for ways to improve and evolve. He knew that in order to be successful, he needed to constantly adapt and change. Law 26. William was careful to keep his hands clean, knowing that even the smallest mistake could ruin his reputation. Law 27. William was skilled at playing on people's need to believe and was able to create a cult-like following. He knew that if he could get people to believe in him, they would follow him blindly. Law 28. William was always bold in his actions, knowing that the best way to succeed was to take risks. Law 29. William was a master at planning all the way to the end, knowing that the key to success was to always have a plan. Law 30. William made his accomplishments seem effortless, knowing that by making it seem like he was not trying, he would appear more powerful. Law 31. William was always in control of the options, making sure to get others to play with the cards he dealt. He knew that by controlling the options, he controlled the game. Law 32. William was skilled at playing into people's fantasies, knowing that by tapping into their desires, he could control them. Law 33. William was a master at discovering each person's thumbscrew, knowing that by understanding what made others tick, he could manipulate them. Law 34. William was royal in his own fashion, always acting like a king in order to be treated like one. He knew that in order to be respected, he needed to carry himself with confidence and authority. Law 35. William had mastered the art of timing, knowing that the key to success was to strike at the right moment. Law 36. William disdained things he couldn't have, knowing that by ignoring them, he would have more power. Law 37. William knew how to create compelling spectacles, knowing that by putting on a show, he could capture the attention of others. Law 38. William was careful to think as he liked but behave like others, knowing that in order to be successful, he needed to blend in. Law 39. William was skilled at stirring up the waters to catch fish, knowing that by creating chaos, he could take advantage of the situation. Law 40. William had a disdain for the free lunch, knowing that nothing in life came for free and that true success required hard work and sacrifice. Law 41. William avoided stepping into a great man's shoes, preferring to make his own path and create his own legacy. Law 42. William was not afraid to strike the shepherd, knowing that by taking out the leader, he could scatter the flock and gain power. Law 43. William worked tirelessly on the hearts and minds of others, knowing that if he could control the way others thought, he could control them. Law 44. William was skilled at disarming and infuriating others with the mirror effect, knowing that by reflecting the negative traits of his opponents back at them, he could throw them off balance. Law 45. William was careful to preach the need for change, but never to reform too much at once. He knew that too much change at once would be overwhelming and could cause his downfall. Law 46. William never appeared too perfect, knowing that by showing his weaknesses, he would appear more relatable and human. Law 47. William knew when to stop, and never went past the mark he aimed for. He knew that in victory, it was important to know when to stop and not become complacent. Law 48. William was skilled at assuming formlessness, knowing that by being adaptable and changing with the times, he could survive any situation. And thus, William became one of the most powerful and successful businessmen in the industry, all thanks to the lessons he learned from the 48 Laws of Power. Thank you for watching. Learning personal development will give you peace and well-being in your life. Please, subscribe. These videos are made using the most common words in English. Give it a like if you liked it. Don't forget to check the video description for more information. If you want to support us even more, visit our Patreon page. There you will find additional materials that may be useful to you, such as documents containing the text used in the videos. Learn English through personal development. Goodbye.